What's going on, everybody? I hope you had a fantastic Tuesday and you're enjoying your Tuesday night. NYG Jeff BT 85 here, and I'm just thinking about what could be next for the New York Mets. I mean, I don't want to, go on a rant like I did the other night because everything that needed to be said in that last video was already said. I mean, the Mets have just done this so much to us Mets fans that we're in some ways we expect this to happen or we're used to it. We were hoping maybe this was different because of the fact we had a new owner in here and we had a manager that's very well experienced, but it is what it is. And you know what the most difficult part about the whole situation is? Not only are two of our divisional rivals in the NLDS right now, in the Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves. By the way, the Phillies won their game this afternoon against the Braves 7-6, so the Phillies have the 1-0 lead in that series. Our crosstown rivals, the New York Yankees, are just about to get their series started tonight, and we're sitting at home. But what makes it worse is you want to know the only National League East team that has not won a World Series in the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, or if you want to go to the 2020s, there's only one team in the National League East that has not done that. Yep. The New York Mets. I mean, if you think about it, the Atlanta Braves have won 2 World Series in the past 15, 20 years, 25 years, in 1995 and then last year in 2021. The Philadelphia Phillies, they won the World Series back in 2008. The Miami, at that time, Florida Marlins, they won the World Series in 1997 and 2003. And obviously the Washington Nationals won it back in 2019. The Mets haven't won a World Series since 1986. 1986 was the last time the Mets won a World Series. Every other team in the NL East has won a World Series in the 2000s, except for us. That's a very, very hard and bitter pill to swallow. Very, very difficult. Because all those other teams recently have tasted success in the new century, except the Mets. We came close in 2015, but we didn't get it done. We had a chance in 2006, we didn't get it done. That's part of the reason why it's a bitter pill right now, is the fact that our division rivals, all 4 of them, have won a World Series in this century, except the New York Mets. That's a bitter, bitter, bitter pill to swallow. And we'll have to see what the Mets are going to do this offseason. The Mets have 15 key free agents. I'll just list the free agents right now. Jacob deGrom has a player option going into 2023, but I don't think he's going to pick it up, and he's going to choose to become an unrestricted free agent. Carlos Carrasco is an unrestricted free agent. Edwin Diaz is an unrestricted free agent. Chris Bassitt's got a mutual option going into 2023, but I think he's going to decline that and become a free agent, or the Mets might decline it. Trevor May is an unrestricted free agent. Brandon Nimmo, unrestricted free agent. Taijuan Walker also has a player option, but he's probably going to decline it and go into free agency. Adam Ottavino is a free agent. Tyler Naquin is a free agent. Seth Lugo is a free agent. Trevor Williams is a free agent. Michael Givens is a free agent. Daniel Vogelbach has a club option. He is probably not going to get that option picked up. Michael Givens has a mutual option. He's probably not going to get that picked up. They're both probably going to be unrestricted free agents. And Tommy Hunter is an unrestricted free agent. That's 15 guys. A lot of these guys are key players. Key players. Apologize for the stuff. I have a little bit of a cold. But like I mentioned in my video on Sunday night, you have 4/5 of your rotation right now that are free agents. Jacob deGrom, Carlos Carrasco, Taijuan Walker, and Chris Bassitt. All of them are probably going to be free agents. I do not expect deGrom or Walker to pick up their options, and I don't expect the Mets to pick up the mutual option on Bassitt. And then Carrasco's an unrestricted free agent. Who do you sign? Which one of those guys? Because you can't, even with Stevie Cohen and all the money he has, we can't sign everybody. So we're unfortunately going to have to pick and choose which guys that we have to try to bring back. Obviously, the top of the list is probably going to be Jacob deGrom because of the fact that he's a homegrown Met. He's been part of the Mets organization since 2006. He's one of the best Mets pitchers. He's one of the best New York Mets pitchers in franchise history. Whether fans might like it or not, he is. But does he want to be here? There's going to be teams out there, including the Atlanta Braves, our division rivals, that will do anything to try to sign a Jacob deGrom just to aggravate the Mets. Does Jacob deGrom still want to be a Met? How much is he going to ask for? That's a big question. He's probably the biggest free agent on this team right now. Second was probably Edwin Diaz, our closer. He had a fantastic season this year, all-star worthy. Are the Mets going to shell out the type of money he's going to look for? Because he's going to get big money on the market. When you're a closer and you play as well as he did, he's going to get big money on the market. Are the Mets going to be willing to bring him back? Brandon Nimmo is your leadoff hitter. He's been your leadoff hitter. He's been your spark plug of this offense the entire season. Are you going to bring him back for whatever contract he's going to look for? I mean, Adam Ottavino had a pretty good year this year in the bullpen. You going to bring him back? You have to think about the cost of a lot of these players. Chris Bassett's a pretty decent pitcher. I mean, maybe the Mets and Bassett come to some type of conclusion where the mutual option might be picked up and he's back here next year, but I don't see it. Not by his body language, what happened last year. Maybe the Mets just don't see it in this guy. I don't think Chris Bassett's going to be here. Taijuan Walker, Carlos Carrasco, they're nice pitchers, but we can upgrade. I mean, Tyler Naquin, Daniel Vogelbach, adios. We made the trades by the trade deadline. They didn't work out. Move on. Get some better players. Seth Lugo, longtime New York Met, came out of the system, but I think we can upgrade on him. His numbers have been declining over the years. Tommy Hunter, we could bring him back on a short-term deal. I don't think so. Trevor Williams, he's like pretty much a spot starter / bullpen arm. Would you sell out the money to bring him back as depth in the bullpen or a potential 6th, 7th starter in the rotation? Trevor May, another guy, another bullpen arm. The Mets have a lot of very, very difficult decisions. And if I had to prioritize right now from most important to least important, if I had to pick my top 5 guys who I think the Mets have to prioritize the most, I'd probably say deGrom is number 1 because of the fact of how bad the starting pitching was going down the stretch. And deGrom was the best pitcher because you don't know what you're going to get from Max Scherzer. He's going to be 38, 39 years old next year. He was declining towards the end of the season. You figure eventually a pitcher, when he's that up there in age, he's eventually going to start declining. I mean, Bassett might not even be back, and he faltered down the stretch too. And then same thing with Walker and Carrasco. They're nice pitchers. They're free agents. Even if you bring them back, are you really going to be are they going to be reliable enough to go out there day in and day out to get the job done? I don't think so. So deGrom is so important to this team, and also he's a homegrown Met. I mean, this guy has been with this team. He was part of the Fab Five. If everybody remembers the New York Mets Fab Five pitchers that everybody was talking about, between Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, Matt Harvey, Zach Wheeler, and Steven Matz. Jacob deGrom is the last one left, and he's been by far the most successful one of that group. I mean, Matz didn't really do anything when he was here. Wheeler had moments, but he's really succeeding more in Philadelphia than he was with the Mets. Syndergaard and Matt Harvey had blips for a couple of years. deGrom's been the one guy that's been consistent for most of the time. But the question is, deGrom, does he still want to be here? And then Edwin Diaz. This guy is your closer, your all-star closer. Most Met fans, including myself, couldn't wait to run this guy out of town for the past couple of seasons because he couldn't get the job done. And then this year he goes out and he has an incredible season. So you know that his market is going to be boosting up now because people are going to look at what he did and they're going to pay him his money. But at the same time, maybe teams will be a little bit cautious because we all know with the relievers, they're a dime. They have inconsistent seasons. Sometimes they can be great, other times they can be bad. It just really depends on what you get from them from season to season. They're like a place kicker in football. You don't know what you're going to get from them from season to season. One year they could be great, next year they could suck. I mean, can you really let Brandon Nimmo go? Another homegrown Met. This guy has pretty much been growing through the system. I remember when Brandon Nimmo first came up back in the mid-2010s. This guy was a good player. he got off a little bit slow, and maybe the Mets thought about upgrading over him because of the fact he got hurt a lot and he just wasn't producing. But I mean, the past couple of seasons, Brandon Nimmo has been an important part of this team. He's a table setter. He can steal bases. He's a very good glove in the outfield. He can hit pretty well. He strikes out sometimes too much, but Brandon Nimmo's a damn good player, and he's a spark plug in this clubhouse. Can you really afford to let him go? But he's like Jacob deGrom. Does he still want to be here? Does Brandon Nimmo potentially want to go try himself out in the free agent market and maybe try somewhere else to play? I mean, Chris Bassett, do you want to bring him back? After his comments he made in his press conference after the Mets lost, he sounds like he was spooked by New York. Do you really want to have a guy there that's spooked out by the city? He can't handle the bright lights? That's a red flag right there that maybe this guy shouldn't be on the team. I mean, I like Seth Lugo. I've always liked Seth Lugo, but the problem is this guy's just not the same pitcher he was a couple of years ago, and maybe it's best to start upgrading on him. Go look for another option in the free agent market, trade market, or maybe check out some of your guys in the minor league system. Trevor Williams, another guy. Trevor May. There's a couple of bullpen arms. You want to bring them back? You think you can upgrade on them? There's a lot of important decisions with this team, but I think if I had to pick the top five, I deviated a little bit off. Jacob deGrom would be my number one. I'd probably say Edwin Diaz is my number two. Brandon Nimmo or my number three. I think those three guys are clearly the top three options, in my opinion. I'd probably have to say Adam Ottavino, because I like Ottavino. I think he's a good veteran presence in that bullpen. I'd probably say he's four. And my fifth one, I might have to say, well, if I had to pick another starting pitcher, I'd probably pick Taijuan Walker. Because Walker, while he's been up and down, he's younger than Carrasco. He's been a little bit more consistent than Carrasco. So I might have to go with Taijuan Walker. It would be slam dunk to say Bassett, but I just don't know where this guy's head is. So I mean, I think the top three are by far the most important. And who knows if you're even going to be able to bring back one, two, or all three of them. You might lose all three in general. So, and it also plays in the fact that the Mets don't have a strong farm system right now. They don't. I mean, the Mets farm system right now, and that's a key as well, because if the Mets let some of these guys go, who are they bringing up in the farm system that can take over for some of these spots? I mean, Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, Francisco Alvarez. These are nice players. I mean, they were top of the food chain in terms of Mets prospects, but how good are these? How good are these guys really? Ronnie Mauricio? I mean, these guys might be great prospects in the Mets system, but are they great prospects in all of Major League Baseball? I don't know. I mean, Vientos is a nice player. I hope I'm wrong. Alvarez and Beatty are young, so hopefully they have time to grow, but these are some of the questions you got to ask. And you have to think about what players you have to prioritize going into this offseason. And for me, the top three are easy. It's Brandon Nimmo, Jacob deGrom, and Edwin Diaz. Those are the top three free agents for the New York Mets. They have to try to sign. And when you have the richest owner in baseball, there's no reason why they can't sign two or all three of these guys. But then you also have to factor in, possibly you want to extend Pete Alonso. You want to extend Jeff McNeil. You already have Francisco Lindor under a long-term deal. If Marte continues to play well, maybe you want to add a year on him. So you have decisions to make. This is a very, very, very interesting offseason for the New York Mets. It really is. This is why not winning the World Series this year was so bad after the season the Mets had, is because of the fact that they have so many free agents going into this offseason. There's so many roster decisions this team has to make that who knows who might actually be back on this team. And with the owner that the Mets have, he's going to want to be aggressive in the offseason to bring in his players. He's going to want to be aggressive to try to upgrade this team, because you know for a fact, for an owner that badly wants to win, and anybody that knows Steve Cohen, he's a longtime Mets fan. That's why he wanted to become owner of this team, because he's a Mets fan. He's not just an owner, he's a fan of the New York Mets. And he wants to win. So this guy's going to look at what happened in the end of the season and the postseason, and he's going to want to he's not happy probably, and he wants to go into this offseason and do whatever it takes to upgrade this team to get them ready for the season next year. So that's the thing. Like, what players do you really think we're going to prioritize to bring back? For me, the top three are easy. Edwin Diaz, Brandon Nimmo, and Jacob deGrom. But there's two questions to that. A, are the Mets going to be willing to pay out the money that these guys are going to want? Well, three questions. Two, are the Mets going to be willing to be in competition with other teams for these players? And then three, and maybe the most important, do these guys even want to be here in New York? Do they still want to play with the Mets? Do you still want to play on the Mets? Or would they rather take their chances somewhere else? Those are the three things you have to think about. Because you could have the richest owner in baseball, but if you would rather take your chances somewhere else, and you're just not happy in the place you are, then there's nothing you can do about it. Period. And I think it would hurt me the most to see, I like Diaz, but Brandon Nimmo and Jacob deGrom are longtime Mets on this team, so it would hurt to see both of them go. But I'm not in their minds right now. And I don't know what Billy Epler and Stevie Cohen think about these two guys, and if they're willing to pay the money to keep them here. And that goes for the rest of the free agents here. It's going to be a very interesting offseason when it starts next month. And hopefully the Mets are going to be able to bring back some of these guys, and hopefully they're going to be able to make the right decisions. And then also, what are they going to do, when the free agency starts? What players are they going to target? And then what players are they going to target in trades as well as free agency? Because the winter meetings all the time, the beginning of December, are going to be active. So who are the Mets going to target to upgrade this team? And what positions are they going to target? So I'm really wondering right now, what are the New York Mets going to do, and who are they going to prioritize bringing back? That's the biggest question right now with this team is, what players are the New York Mets interested in bringing back the most? You have 15 free agents. A good amount of these guys are key free agents that played a role on this team. Who are Stevie Cohen and Billy Epler going to look at on this free agent list and be like, we have to do whatever possible to bring these guys back? You already heard my top 5. I want to know your top 5. And it's really difficult right now as a Mets fan after the way the season ended. The fact that, like I mentioned earlier in the video, we are the only team in the NL East that has not won a World Series in the 1990s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and the 2020s. The only team that has not won a World Series in this century. Everybody else has. Like I mentioned, the Marlins won in 1997 and 2003. The Braves won in 1995, 2021. The Phillies won in 2008. And the Nationals won in 2019. Mets are still waiting. You're close. Close doesn't get you anything. So I really want to see what this Mets team is going to do in the offseason. Hopefully they make the right moves. So if you guys like this video, please hit the like button below. Sub up if you haven't already to NYGJeffyT85 for more breaking news, updates, chatter, and off-season talk surrounding the New York Mets. Turn on the bell for notifications in the next video or short that's going to be dropping on the channel surrounding the Mets. And I want to know in the comment section, out of the 15 players, and if you need to, go on Sporadic or Sportic and check out the free agents for the New York Mets if you don't know who are the top free agents for this team. And let me know in the comment section who are your top 5 Mets free agents that you think the team has to do whatever it takes to bring back. And what players you think that you're willing to let go and take your chances on other players, whether it's free agency or trades in the offseason. So I thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your night. And let's go, New York Mets, as always. It might be a bitter pill to swallow right now. We got to pick ourselves up, go into the offseason, and do whatever it is possible to improve this baseball team and then get ready for 2023. Have a great night, and as always, let's go, New York Mets. All you got to do is believe in those boys from Queens.